Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of The Rock Experience with Mike Brunn. We decided today to get together and talk about last night's Grammys and the acknowledgement, or lack thereof to some, of Eddie Van Halen. So here's some of our thoughts and some of our comments. We look forward to hearing your thoughts and opinions as well. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of The Rock Experience with Mike Brunn. Today I have back with me an unexpected episode we're putting together here pretty quickly. The chemist. No, he doesn't make meth, for anybody who was interested in making.
Well, actually I do, only on Tuesdays.
On Tuesdays. All right, so that's good to know. Please welcome Vincent LaRussa. How you doing, buddy?
Good.
So for anybody that doesn't know the reference I'm talking there, somebody left a comment on one of my videos, which I thought was hilarious, actually. Why is he the chemist? Does he make meth? I'm like, that's an interesting comment. Okay. Sorry. No, maybe on Tuesdays it sounds like he does, but no, otherwise, no, he's not making.
I shouldn't publicize that, but anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, no, we actually both come from the school of Gene Simmons on that one. So, but anyway, I just thought that was a funny comment. And as I'm introducing you here as the chemist, because as people say, we have good chemistry together,
right.
The thought just kind of came to my mind. And I was like, oh man, that's pretty funny, actually, that comment. So anyway, The reason we were getting together today, last night, was the Grammys. There was a lot of, I guess, speculation leading up to it. What were they or weren't they going to do for Eddie Van Halen? And I think you and I had, through Facebook or something, kind of chatted a little bit last night. Had a little bit of time overnight for it to marinate, think about, what was done. And let me start with you, my friend. What did you think?
Well, I mean, I guess when first of all, let me just say this. I only knew there was a Grammy Awards because it was posted on Facebook and people commented. That's how little I pay attention to the Grammy Awards. I basically, between the Grammy, the American music, I've tuned out a long time ago. And it's just part of my disdain and just becoming a grumpy old man of the music industry now. So
now, what if really Storm was nominated for a Grammy? Would have you?
No, I guess I would. I mean, if they asked me to appear, I'd watch it.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Just curious.
I don't know if I would watch it. Yeah.
Curious where that line is. I'm just
Yeah. But so let me just say that right off the top. I did see the comments all of a sudden, and then I saw, I think it was actually you had posted something. And then I said, all right, let me see what this is about. And so I went back and watched it. And, and I thought about it a little more because at first I was like, this is ridiculous. What this guy contributed to music, how he changed the landscape of rock music, heavy metal music, however you want to categorize, just music in general. They should have given him a more appropriate tribute. Maybe they should have had somebody come up and speak, somebody who worked with Eddie or something like that. But then today I thought about it and said, well, what about those other people who have passed? Now, if you do this for one person, then whether it was, I think it was Bonnie Pointer or something like that, who also they had in there. Now, is it really fair for them to not get, when I say equal treatment, I'm not saying they all deserve equal treatment, but they all deserve respect. Let's say that, number one.
Right.
But I think now maybe the Grammys were on the fence with, all right, if we do this for him, then how's it going to look for the others? I thought the guitar on the stage was kind of cool, actually. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
So at first I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. I can't believe this. I still feel like he should have had more of a fitting tribute, maybe longer than 15 seconds, perhaps. Maybe he didn't have to have somebody come out and make a speech or whatever.
Right.
But I think there was kind of a blurry line or whatever that they were probably just wrestling with.
I thought the Grammys were trying to saddle that, right? So if you watch the whole thing, first off, the whole thing was 12 minutes long, right? Because that's how many people passed. Now, they did make a couple of performances during that, right? But there's a lot of people, to your point, that they have to acknowledge. But the first performance was Bruno Mars, I think was a tribute to Little Richard. And me personally, I have no problem with that. That's no disrespect to Eddie, but Little Richard in the big scheme of pop culture and all of that, I think Little Richard's a step above Eddie. No disrespect to Ed, right?
Yeah, I agree. I thought we were gonna have a fight right now because I was ready to go
No,
I thought you were gonna say something else. I'm like, wait, whoa.
No. Look,
Okay,
I try to be as objective as possible. I like Van Halen a lot better. I like Eddie Van Halen's.
I just wasn't sure if you knew the history. That's all. But you did your homework as you always do.
You're a little insulting. I didn't have to do any homework on that one. All right, a little insulting.
Okay.
So anyway, so then that's the performance there. Then Lionel Richie came out and did a Kenny Rogers song.
See, I didn't know all this, so this is all news for me. This is, again, how little we prepare talking to each other, and how much, as I said, I actually watched and researched the whole thing.
Right.
So now I might change my perspective. But go ahead, keep going.
So Lionel Richie sang like 2 minutes. I forget what song it was. One of those classic Kenny Rogers songs. But again, I kind of felt, it's Kenny Rogers. Again, he goes cross just country music. I don't care who you talk to. If you like music, you know who Kenny Rogers is.
It's a crossover artist.
It's a crossover. And I know people are going to say, everybody knows Eddie Van Halen. I'm not so sure of that. Certainly in the rock world, everybody does. I know my parents, they know who Eddie Van Halen is, probably because of me. I don't know if everybody knows Eddie Van Halen. So at that moment, I was like, all right, if those are the only two people that they acknowledge with performances, I get it. And everybody else was just a name on a screen, over. Name on a screen, over. Eddie was like 15 seconds. So I was like, all right, they tried to do a little bit more for Eddie.
Right.
But then now here's maybe where my ignorance comes in. All right. Later on in that whole segment, they acknowledged John Prine, I think his name was. And maybe my ignorance, but I was like, who?
Right.
Who? And then that's when I said, wait, back up now. If you're going to acknowledge John Prine with a 1 minute performance, you got to do more for Eddie. Because in my mind, I know, I Googled him. He's a country folk singer. I'm going to assume for 30 seconds that in their genres, they equals. I'm going to assume it. Okay. Because I know John Prine's got Lifetime Achievement Awards. He's got Grammys. He's clearly done a lot that I don't have a freaking clue about. I'll assume they're equal. Well, then you got to treat them equally on their passing. I agree. That's where I became. So I actually had the opposite view. You started off last night saying, oh, this is crap. How could they do this? And then woke up thinking, all right, you can't do that for everybody. I at first was like, oh, well, that's nice. They had the guitar out there, little thing of eruption. But then as this thing progressed and they got to John Prine, I'm like, that's not good. Not cool.
So did you watch it was you watching it live? Did you see this whole sequence? Like
I did, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did. Yeah. And my daughter had mentioned like 20 after 8 last night. Oh, the Grammys is on. I was like, what the hell? Let me watch for a little bit. And she proceeded to make fun of me because the first artist I knew was Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, because you have to live in a bubble not to know. I didn't know the song she was singing, but at least I knew who she was. And my daughter was just like, Dad, you need to get out more often. So
now, were you really watching it because you were hoping the Spice Girls were doing a reunion on it?
I was, yes.
Okay. Refer to last episode.
Exactly. Refer to that Destroyer episode if you have no clue what we're talking about. And then that's when I started to get a little frustrated, just like after watching it. So then I woke up today and I was like, I'm not saying they had to acknowledge him the way they did Little Richard, Kenny Rogers, but maybe a minute of eruption with the guitar on stage. There is, like, I went back and listened to Eruption. There's a way to play Eruption for about 53, 54 seconds and get the meat of the song, put them on the screen, the guitar on the stage. I think I would have personally felt like, okay, that was more than what they did for most of the other people.
Or would have been cool is to have his son come out, because I know his son could play parts of that, or maybe the whole thing. I've seen videos.
Yes.
I mean, maybe they did. I don't know. Did he comment on that? See, I like this because I'm learning as we're having this conversation. I did see Gary. I seen Gary Sharon's comment. I saw Eddie Trunk. I saw Vernon.
Well, Eddie Trunk was commenting all day yesterday.
Yeah.
All for hours,
Yeah.
So And who else did you say?
Gary Sharon. I think Vernon Reed.
Yes.
From Living
I saw
Color,
Vernon Reed.
So I did see that stuff, but again, I didn't know about this other like Kenny Rogers,
Right.
you know, Lionel Richie, because he worked very closely with Kenny and that stuff. And um, yeah, I mean, yeah, I definitely have a different perspective on it now, knowing all that. You know,
Right.
so scratch what I originally said. Although it does seem like they did do, you know, there's an inequity of like they said some names just passed by and some they actually did performances, but
I would say, and I think I watched like 9 or 10. I think when they started doing the John Prine performance, I got up and I said, "All right, time to get a drink or something."
yeah.
But from everything I saw, Eddie Van Halen was probably acknowledged the fourth longest of anybody who passed last year. With the 3 getting the performance, then Eddie having the 15 seconds compared to everybody else a second or 2, and they moved along.
Well, you know, the way I look at it, think about guitar players, and I'm just going to quickly do this off the top of my head. If you started in the 50s, you had Chuck Berry, you know, and then in the 60s, like if you say the one guy or guys, Hendrix and Clapton, right? Right now you go into the 70s, Jimmy Page, you know, I'm just talking lead guitar players. And
Course,
again, you know, influential where people said, I picked up a good intro. Now, of course, people, oh, Keith Richards, people say, you know what I mean? I'm talking like the big players who.
The A+++.
Yeah.
Not the A+.
Right. Of course, Ace Frehley, Kiss, you know, we've heard, you know, how many guitar players picked up a guitar because of Ace Frehley.
Right.
80s? Number one guy? Got to be Eddie Van Halen in my book. Who else is it going to be?
Yeah. Hey, look, to me, Eddie Van Halen 70s/80s, right? Because he started 77, Eruption is 78. But yeah, you know, your point is spot on.
Fair enough. I mean, you can say 70s into 80s.
Yeah.
But I'm saying where Van Halen really hit their, you know, with their prime, like with the 84 album, you know, with Jump and all that stuff. You know, because I guess my point being, and this is why I said 80s, the Warren D. Martinis, you know, the Red Beaches, whoever you want to name the guitar players, you know, from that 83 on where you really heard people copying Eddie. You didn't hear it really in 79, in 80, in 81. Think about it, a rock or heavy metal record that you hear that Eddie Van Halen thing on it. Yeah, there might be one here and there, but where everybody was doing it was from that 83 or 84 on, and all that music you listen to. That's what I was kind of saying. You know what I mean? I think everyone's trying to figure out, like, what the hell is he doing?
Right.
How do we do that, you know?
Right. For me, I want to say it's a little less the influence, and that's not to minimize any of what you just said. And it's, I agree with it 1,000 times over. But people always say, well, this one was influential and that was influential. To me, and I guess it's an offspring of influence, but Eddie changed the way guitar players played.
Yeah.
Right. And like,
well, I mean it for all those guys. I mean, every one of those guys, I meant that.
Right.
From a technique standpoint and a sound, and even the instrument they used, whether it was a Les Paul, whether it was a 335, whether it was a Kramer or whatever, Frankenstein, you know, whatever it was, you know?
Right. Yeah. No, to me, he revolutionized the way guitar players played the instrument. And that's where I just
not only that, he revolutionized the sound of the guitar by all the mods he did on the guitars and on the amps.
Yep,
you know,
very
even
true.
more so than some of those other guys. You know.
Yep. And that's where I say, a minute. Just one. I'm not even saying he should be up at that Little Richard, Kenny Rogers spectrum, you know, and get that kind of recognition as the two of them. I personally wish they did.
Well,
but I'm okay if he's one step below them.
I'm going to slightly disagree with you on that because just in the Kenny Rogers thing, look, he had a huge influence in really bringing country music into the mainstream. I mean, that's one of the things he did. And I think it was very convenient for them. Lionel Richie's a popular guy.
Of course.
And, you know, Lionel was, we could get Lionel Richie. He worked, this is great. If Lionel didn't work with him, I'm not sure if they would have done the same treatment for Kenny. You know, maybe they would have. I don't know. I'm just, again.
Well, but who has a better beard than Kenny Rogers?
No. It's true. Depends on what era beard you're talking about. So you marinate in that one. And he also he had good chickens and ribs back in the days. You remember on 86th Street we would go to.
Yes, he did. That's right. I remember that. No, to me, he crossed over genres and anybody who's a music fan. So I had no problem with them acknowledging him the way they did. And you know, you said before somebody coming out and giving a speech or his son coming out. I would be okay if his son came out and did Eruption. You know, Eddie's son, that is.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd want to see any other guitar player coming out and do an Eruption. I kind of liked what they were trying to do, put the guitar out there, almost like this man's irreplaceable. There's his guitar, and we'll show him on the screen. I just wish it was a little longer.
Yeah, or they could have, even if they didn't play, they could have the guitar in it, and they could have had someone speak for a minute and a half and just say,
maybe
a guitar player,
maybe
something like that. Or, I think the son would have been a natural choice.
Of course.
But let me, I mean, and to that point, as far as influence or whatever, what do you think is, for the 80s, the most recognizable, most, I'm trying to think of the word, guitar solo of the 80s? If you had to think of it, what guitar solo is like, you think about it, is like, this is the guitar solo that, like, if you want to stamp the 80s as a guitar solo, which one is it?
There was two that came to mind. I know the first one, people are going to be like, really? But it always comes to my mind. Jump, for whatever reason. I always think of that song, but him smiling in the video while he's playing his solo. And then Sweet Child of Mine from Slash. Those are the two that always come to mind if you're going to talk only 80s.
Okay, so I'm going to disagree with you on that.
Go ahead.
I'm going to say the guitar solo to Beat It, because of Michael Jackson's popularity. That was a huge pop song. And you want to talk about crossing over to an R&B artist.
Very good point. Excellent point. Excellent point.
I don't always do my homework, but I have
that's why I bring him along for the ride on these episodes.
Yeah. So if I think that's the iconic guitar solo of the 80s, it's that, because when you heard it, you're like, wait a second, that's Eddie Van Halen. Like 3 bars in, you're like, who that is. And really, I mean,
Right.
2 takes, I think he did it in something crazy,
which is
like
amazing.
that.
No, that's a great call out. And look, I put a poll last night up on Twitter, just asking people what they thought. Do they think that it was appropriate? Did they think were they frustrated? And 79% of people responded so far saying that they thought it was not appropriate and that they wish they did more. So, I think that's the overall consensus of people right now. And anybody who's watching this, if you want to go on my Twitter, go. I'll put the sausage link on the bottom of this video. Yes, I said sausage link. and you could put your vote there if you think it was good or not. It's interesting because you said it before. I put on my Facebook last night to see what people thought, my Rock Experience page. I'm just going to read some of the comments and I'll let you comment as you deem appropriate, right?
Me? Am I commenting?
Yeah, no, you can comment on any of these, or you could just listen. Either way, right? But I think you'll find.
Do I have to raise my hand when I want to comment, like I was at school again?
Yeah, please do so. Okay. No, I'm kidding. You don't have to raise your hand. So I'll just read little parts of it. They could have done more. He was so influential, right? I didn't see it. Pointless show for me. I think a lot of people feel like that about the Grammys, right? I was watching John Corabi doing a live show at the time. It's not a bad choice to make, watching John Corabi over the Grammys. Wish I kind of would have thought of that. There were other performers who had passed. Where was Steve Vai, Satriani, or Malmsteen, or Yngwie, right? So I don't know. For me, I don't want to see Steve Vai do an Eruption. That was just my opinion.
I agree. I agree with that.
I loved the guitar on the stage. I just wish it was longer. Yeah, here you go. This is right up your alley. The Grammys have been a shit show for a very long time.
That was me, right?
No, it wasn't actually. No, you said.
I think I would have put shit sandwich anyway.
Yeah, you would have. But you did say the Grammys are a disgrace. Is what you said. Someone needs to teach the Grammys a lesson in rock and roll. And, to me, when somebody posted that, I was like, that's so true. Think back to, what was it, 89, when Jethro Tull got the first Grammy for Best Heavy Metal Band.
Yeah.
Does Last Night surprise you when that's what their history is,
True. I mean, it was a very long time ago, but, I think, again, I don't know all the mechanics of this. I like Mike and the mechanics, but I don't know the mechanics of this.
Right.
Is this the same people, those Rolling Stone type people who run,
I think so.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame who make these decisions?
I think so.
Got to remember, no matter how influential Eddie Van Halen was, he still was a heavy metal guitar player, and it's always going to have, by those guys who love, and not to take anything away from the Bob Dylans and the Tom Waits and the Patti Smythes or whoever, and the Bruce Springsteens, there's always this disdain for that era of music, you know what I mean?
Yeah, agreed.
To be associated with that hair metal thing, although I never saw them really as a hair metal band,
Me neither.
But obviously a lot of times they get they have no choice but to let some of these bands like Van Halen in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But you know, when the Bon Jovis and the Def Leppards and those bands start getting in, a lot of it is let's face, and even Kiss, let's face facts, is because they opened it up to fan polling and stuff like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because if they had their way, they wouldn't let those bands in.
Right.
So,
no, very true. Well, let me read you just 2 more comments. One person said,
sorry.
I thought, no, nothing to be sorry about. I thought it was perfect. They showed a clip of him shredding. And then somebody else said, well, at least they showed him. That's better than nothing. Right. So that's kind of sad when that's the bar. Right?
Yeah.
Well, it's
yeah.
better than nothing.
But
I think that's the way some people feel, you know. So to me, it was interesting. I wanted to just read those because there has been a lot of, I think, noise today out there about what the Grammys didn't do last night. So I thought it was interesting kind of seeing some of that feedback coming in. And there's others, but I just figured I'd read some of those. You know, it was interesting seeing some of that feedback today. It got me thinking, and then we'll wrap this up. What do you think happens when, let's say, Paul Stanley or Gene Simmons passes?
We really have to go there right now?
You don't have to. You don't have to.
I don't like this. I don't want to answer that now.
You don't want to answer that.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. No chemistry set on this one. Sorry.
No chemistry set.
Nope.
Well,
I'm not going there.
I will just say that to me, Eddie Van Halen is a bigger household name than Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons. Certainly Paul Stanley, no disrespect, my number 1 favorite artist of all time, right? But it just makes me think how angry Kiss fans are going to be down the road, you know? And hopefully that's 20, 30 years or 40
I was going to say, hopefully
years.
really far down the road. But,
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not the end of the road for that, right? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
And one other comment I want to make, because I've seen people say this.
Hopefully it doesn't involve death.
Well, it does, but not somebody who's alive, right? So I've seen a few people today say, you know, they didn't even acknowledge Neil Peart. Slow down. Let's not pile on the Grammys. They are a shit show over there. Neil Peart passed away last year before the Grammys and was acknowledged last year.
Okay.
Okay.
I was about to go nuts. Anyway, I was like, what the?
No. So they did. But they just flashed his name on the screen, if I remember right, last year, and that was it. 2 seconds, done and over. You know. So anyway, I'm curious. You know, so far, like I said, my feedback is near 80% of the people think it wasn't enough. I see a lot of press coming out today about it not being enough. I'll be curious to see when people watch this, how they react. I'm going to guess an overwhelming majority are going to agree with what we said. They could have done more. They should have done more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and if you feel like that, let us know what you think they should have done instead. Should somebody else have come up and perform? Should have it been his son? Should somebody come up and speak on his behalf? Should they have just put him on a video screen with the guitar, like I said? What do you think would have been the appropriate tribute to Eddie Van Halen?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All righty, bud. Anything else you wanted to bring up?
Nope. I'm good.
All righty. Well, then that's it for this episode. And thank you, everybody, for watching. We look forward to your comments. And until next time, talk to you later.
Yep.
All righty. There you have it. Our thoughts and comments about last night's Grammys and the acknowledgement of Eddie Van Halen. We look forward to hearing your thoughts and comments as well. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see in the description below a link to my Twitter poll. Go over there and cast your official vote. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button below. If you're listening to one of my podcasts, subscribe over there as well. Also, head on over to Facebook and follow my page, The Rock Experience with Mike Brunn, where each and every day we talk about all the rock and roll music that you love. You could also follow me on Instagram and Twitter as well. That's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you next time.